There is an exciting project down in Mexico that's really picking up steam, but no pun intended. We're talking about the Tren Maya, a mega railway project that's set to change the way people travel and experience the Yucatan Peninsula. Let's get into the details right away. The Tren Maya is a massive infrastructure project in Mexico that aims to build a railway network spanning a whopping 1,500 kilometers through none other than the Yucatan Peninsula. Now, why is it a big deal? It basically connects major tourist destinations like Cancun, Tulum, and Palenque, as well as a whole lot of other indigenous communities along the route. Construction began in 2020 with the first part of the Intercity Railway project, set to begin operations in December 2023. Now here's the jaw-dropping piece of information. The project is estimated to create 4,500 direct and 7,500 indirect jobs. The railway project, led by Mexico's National Fund for the Promotion of Tourism, is divided into 7 sections. The first phase of the project, which includes sections 1 through 4, will connect the stations from Palenque to Cancun, while the second phase, which includes the remaining 3 sections, will link Cancun to Escarcega. Now, moving past the railway track itself, let's talk about the trains that are running on it, more specifically known as the Zimbal, Janal, and Patal trains, developed for the Tren Maya project. You might wonder where the idea comes from. Well, the design is influenced by Mayan culture and features the lines, speed, and beauty of the jaguar, one of the world's largest felines. There's one thing that is common in all 3, and that is their designs, which aim to provide adequate legroom and space within the passenger car. If that isn't enough, each train will have sufficient luggage storage space, thanks to overhead racks adapted from Alstom's Intercity variation Corradia, and vertical racks in each car. The best part? The train's flat floor design allows passengers with limited mobility to move freely. The initial order of a humongous $1.3 billion calls for 42 passenger units to be delivered in 3 different configurations: 31 normal service trains, or Zimbal, 3 long-distance trains, Patal, and 8 restaurant specialty trains, Janal. And the timeline is nearer than ever, as the first units are expected to arrive in the second half of 2023 to begin system testing. Let's take a look at its contractors now. In February 2021, Fonatur awarded Acciona and Grupo Mexico a $865 million contract to build 60.3 kilometers of electrified double rail tracks for Section 5 of the Mayan train route between Playa del Carmen and Tulum. On the other hand, TIPSA, a consulting engineering firm, was contracted to provide technical support as well as project and construction management services for sections 1 through 5. Renfe, DB Engineering and Consulting, Ineco, and Ineco Mex were chosen to provide shadow operator services for the Tren Maya project. And finally, in November 2020, the work supervision contract for Section 4 of the Tren Maya project was awarded to Aegis, a global consulting and construction engineering firm, in collaboration with 2 local engineering firms, Triada and Transconsult. But the grass isn't as green as it appears, as Mexican activists have expressed concerns over the Tren Maya project, set into motion by President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. The problem? Recent images show that steel and cement pilings from the project were driven directly through the roofs of environmentally sensitive limestone caves on the Yucatan Peninsula. Now, this isn't like any other issue, as the Yucatan's network of caves, sinkhole lakes, and underground rivers is critical to the region's survival, because there are no surface rivers on the flat limestone peninsula. Apart from that, these locations also include some of the oldest human remains in North America. Here's where the controversy takes a turn for the worst. President López Obrador had previously pledged that a segment of the Maya train would not harm the caves, but recently published images suggest otherwise. The pilings were first discovered at the Acton to Yule Cave complex at Shibuya, located around 17 miles south of Playa del Carmen. The columns, about 3 feet wide with a steel jacket and cement core, were on an incomplete segment of the train between Cancun and Tulum. But things take an even more downward turn when it was revealed that the people actually expected to be consulted by the officials, who would explain the advantages and disadvantages of the project and allow them to make an informed decision. The reality? Many locals, however, claimed that the procedure was only partially completed. To add insult to injury, Gonzalez said that environmental impact reports, which would have given communities a better understanding of the project's animal threats and deforestation levels, were never sufficiently provided by the Secretariat of Environment and Natural Resources to the communities. But the absurdity doesn't stop there, as Gonzalez also claimed that many of the sessions that did occur were not conducted in the native tongue of the participants. Since Mayor Zettel and Mayor Chol locals only know a little bit of Spanish, they occasionally had trouble understanding what was being said to them. Wildlife and environmental factors aside, the Tren Maya project was still underway even in the early stages of the COVID-19 pandemic, when Mexico was reporting over 1,000 new cases every day. The civil society, Indignation for the Promotion of Human Defenders, filed injunctions alleging that workers exposed vulnerable indigenous communities to the coronavirus, putting the railway project's advancement ahead of the public health of Yucatan and Chiapas populations. According to other lawsuits, the project forced several local residents to relocate, which is not permitted by Mexican law. Therefore, the relocations, which detractors refer to as evictions, were unlawful. That means, according to Carla Escoffi, a lawyer for many towns in Campeche, that Foneta is acting illegally when it orders people to evacuate. According to popular opinion, apart from the matters discussed previously, there are a few signs that Mexico may be rushing the Tren Maya railway project. The government has set an ambitious timeline to complete the construction of all 1,500 plus kilometers of railway by the end of 2023, before the current presidential term ends. But with great flights comes a greater risk of falling, and people are concerned that meeting construction and operation deadlines have taken priority over planning to minimize environmental impact. In an eager attempt to get the project done, bulldozing and construction began in mid-2020, despite not having completed all the required environmental and feasibility studies. Apart from that, indigenous communities claim the planning process excluded them. With a project that massive, it's only natural to struggle with finances. Funding for the estimated $15+ billion project relies predominantly on diverting public resources rather than private investment, leading to disputes over budget cuts for other public programs. It's uncertain if costs may escalate. Last but not least, only selective portions of the railway plan, like station architecture and train design, have been made public so far. The lack of transparency on comprehensive environmental assessments and economic projections raise questions about whether proper planning protocols are being sidelined to meet political deadlines. Let's take a trip into the past. Mexico's economy was based on agriculture and mining during the colonial era and early independence. After independence in 1821, economic growth was slow due to political instability and foreign invasions. The late 1800s brought industrialization under Porfirio Diaz, including building railroads to better connect Mexico's regions and transport goods. However, most Mexicans remained poor, while elite and foreign companies benefited. But this is where the tables turn. The Mexican Revolution in 1910 disrupted the economy again. Post-revolutionary governments in the 1920s to 40s aimed to spur industrial growth through state intervention, and Mexico nationalized the railroads in 1937 and oil in 1938. Now onto the present. Since the 1980s, Mexico has pursued neoliberal, free market reforms by privatizing state industries, signing free trade agreements like NAFTA, and opening its economy. This has attracted foreign investment, but there's a downside. It has also increased inequality, and transportation infrastructure, including railroads, remain underdeveloped compared to Mexico's export partners. Thus, further rail development could facilitate trade and connect remote regions. But all the negativity aside, the proposed railway project holds multifaceted benefits. Economically, it's anticipated to invigorate tourism and business in Chiapas, Tabasco, Campeche, Yucatan, and Quintana Roo, potentially generating employment opportunities and increasing incomes. Moreover, the railway's emphasis on connectivity promises to link key tourist sites, archaeological wonders, and urban centers in regions currently underserved by transportation infrastructure, thereby fostering local development and enhancing the travel experience for visitors. In terms of environmental sustainability, the shift from road to rail transport is poised to mitigate traffic congestion, reduce accidents, and curtail greenhouse gas emissions, given the eco-friendliness of electric trains. Additionally, the project is lauded for its focus on inclusivity, aiming to provide marginalized indigenous Mayan communities in the southeastern states with improved access to transportation and avenues for economic advancement, thus promoting social integration and equity. Check out another one of our videos and consider subscribing if you enjoyed this content.